Hello and welcome back to the Discover Your Spiritual Gifts YouTube channel. Before we get started, if you could do us a favor and hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon so you can be notified of when new videos are released. In today's video, we're going to be talking about spiritual gifts tests, those questionnaires that have been created to help you easily and quickly identify your spiritual gifts. But do they actually work? Let's talk about it. Like I said, a spiritual gifts test or assessment is a questionnaire that's been created to help people identify their spiritual gifts. Today, there are tons of them. A simple Google search will pull up countless versions. We've even created one here at Lutheran Church of Hope that's linked in the description below. It's not perfect, just like every other one, but it can be a helpful tool if used correctly. Our version is a list of 168 statements that you can rate on a scale of 1 to 5 based on how much you agree or identify with each one. If you open it in Adobe, it'll automatically calculate your scores on the final 2 pages, giving you a rating for each spiritual gift. The gifts with the highest value, in theory, should be the spiritual gifts that you've been given. Now, it's important to remember that all of these tests have been created by humans and therefore have flaws. The first limitation of these tests is that they are self-assessments. We all have blind spots, so when we take a spiritual gifts assessment, the results can only tell us what we know or think we know about ourselves. There might be some gifts that show up in our results that aren't actually present in our life because we think we're more gifted in an area that we're not. The opposite could be true as well. We might think we're not gifted in an area, so it doesn't show up. But maybe, in reality, you really are gifted in that area, but you just haven't realized it yet. A good way to fix this issue is to have some close, trusted friends take the assessment for you. They can help provide some much-needed outside perspective into what our gifts actually are. Next, assessments can only provide us results that represent a specific snapshot in time. Like we mentioned in a previous video, spiritual gifts can change throughout your life. So if a test doesn't identify a gift in your life today, that doesn't mean God won't give it to you at some point in the future. There's an example in Numbers 11:25 where the Spirit rests upon a group of 70 elders and they prophesy, but it says they never did so again. There are situations where a person might receive a gift for a specific situation, but it doesn't continue. Obviously, a spiritual gifts assessment won't be able to predict future gifts. Finally, spiritual gifts assessments are limited to the gifts that are included in the test. For example, in our assessment, we've included 28 gifts. We're not saying there are only 28 gifts. To be honest, there might be more, there might be less. Those are just the ones that we see in the Bible. Unfortunately, there's not one comprehensive list of spiritual gifts in the Bible. Any list that we find is only a partial one that shows us examples. That means there could definitely be more. If there are, it wouldn't be possible to test for those in an assessment because it hasn't been designed to pick up on those. All that being said, spiritual gifts assessments can be really great tools. Even though they aren't perfect, they can be used to help confirm or start the process of identifying a person's spiritual gifts. In my opinion, they shouldn't be used as the only step in identifying a person's spiritual gifts. Think back to the early church. They were actively using their spiritual gifts, but they didn't have spiritual gifts assessments like we do today. So there are other ways for a person to identify their spiritual gifts other than taking an assessment. These tests help get your mind working and remember how God has worked in your life previously to extend His grace to others through you. In order to get the best results, you'll need to think back through your life and recognize the ways that God has called you to love others in specific ways. We'll get more in depth on the topic of how you can identify your spiritual gifts in future videos. But for now, just know that spiritual gifts assessments can be a great starting point or help you solidify what you already know about your spiritual gifts. Do spiritual gifts tests work? Yeah, they do. They work for the purpose of starting the process of discovering your spiritual gifts or confirming what you thought you already knew. They aren't as good at predicting future gifts or acting as a one-stop shop for everything you need to know about your spiritual gifts. That's all for this video. Go give a couple of those spiritual gifts tests a try and see what they show you. Don't forget to ask some close friends for help in this process. And remember, an assessment should just be part of your journey to discovering your spiritual gifts. Thanks for watching this video, and again, please remember to subscribe to this channel and click the like button if you found this video helpful.